Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on what part of this beautiful country that you're in. My name is Sheila Gunn Reid. My co host is my friend Drea Humphrey today, and you are watching Rebel Roundup, our twice weekly roundup of all the news that's fit to talk about and even a little bit more. It's completely unscripted. We sort of take the news as it comes at us and we give you our comments. Sometimes they're spicy, sometimes we just don't care. so Drea is sitting in for my friend David Menzies, who's on very special assignment today. We'll talk about that in a second. And I want to thank the team that filled in for me while I was traveling, and I'll get to that in a second because I feel like I need to talk about it. And at first I wasn't going to talk about it, but I'll talk about it in a second. But Drea, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Well, you know what? It could be better. The heat in our house isn't working since just before bedtime, so we have to get that sorted out, and it is freezing. And I'm in BC. I'm not used to being this cold, so I've even got a blanket here. But I'll have to sort out what the heck is going on. But yeah,
I
excited to be back.
I cannot recommend the space heater under your desk enough. That's what I do. It's right there and it just blows at me all day long because it's well, I'm in Alberta, so even if my furnace were working, and it is, it probably couldn't keep up anyway. Yes, David Menzies is on very special assignment in Emo, Ontario, and we'll talk about that in a little minute. I want to tell everybody how they can get involved, and then I'm going to talk about something that I want to forget that I didn't want to talk about. I didn't want to tell the public about it, but based on the emails that came in to the company about my very recent trip to Paris for work, I feel like I need to say something. I just need to say something.
I
But
saw
this is
pictures in Slack, so I am eagerly awaiting.
yeah, and you didn't even see the worst of it. And there's parts of the trip to Paris that I'm not even going to talk about, like how we lost the drone and like it's just a big rigmarole. But anyways, this is the Rebel News Roundup. We talk about the news, as I say, completely unscripted twice a week. And it's a good chance for us to sort of hash out ideas, we'll give you our hot takes, sometimes our cold takes. And it gives you a chance to get involved in the show through the live chat. So if you're watching us on YouTube and on Rumble, there's a live chat function in both of those. But if you're watching us on YouTube, I should let you know that that is a censorship platform. They don't let you speak your mind. They won't let us speak your mind. They might even just delete your comments and then your account altogether for being a little bit too truthy. So if you want to support a platform that supports free speech and does something else, allows you to support the free speech of others, head on over to Rumble. Because on Rumble, you can leave a paid chat for us. We are completely demonetized on YouTube, so you can't do that over there. And if your paid chat is over the $5 US cutoff, I'm obligating myself and my friend Drea to read it or address it on air. But don't let that be the bar for entry, because we frequently, if we have time, read the paid chats that come in under that $5 US cutoff. And, when I say if we have time, we normally make time. The show is supposed to be an hour long, but, we generally end up going over unless we have a reason for a very hard stop. So let's relive Paris together.
Let's do it.
Ezra sent me and Alexa Lavoie to Paris for less than 48 hours to cover the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. And we thought this, of course, this is a piece of human history, a cradle of civilization that had been burned mysteriously, but was, and I say this completely, miraculously reclaimed. Like the things that had to happen for this to be reclaimed and not be a woke abomination, it is a miracle. And miraculous things happened, like the rose windows that are 800 years old were not destroyed, even as the roof caved in. And so many unsettled things about the fire. They still don't know what caused it. Was it an electrical fire? Was it an accident of workers working there? Was it something else? 2 fires started simultaneously, burned timbers that are near petrified, and how it came to be reclaimed. 20% of the nearly $1 billion in euros raised privately for the reconstruction came from the Jewish community. As they were rebuilding and clearing away the debris, they were finding relics and Catholic artifacts they did not know were there in underneath things. It was like, it's truly God uses all things, right? Even the evil. And, and then the fear of Catholics that, and I should say, none of the relics were damaged. So the crown of thorns was kept there. Like Notre Dame Cathedral, outside of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, so the site of the crucifixion, the Church of the Nativity, the site of the birth, and the Vatican. This held some of the holiest relics in all of Christendom. And they weren't damaged, they were saved. And so what a good news story, considering 100 churches burned and vandalized here in Canada. And the same thing is happening there. 1,000 acts of vandalism against the Christian community last year in France alone. 14 churches burned to date this year. I wanted to know, do you think this was an accident? I gave them the facts of the attacks on the Christian community. Do you think there is anti-Christian bigotry in the Western world? I wanted to know what they thought, even when you laid the facts bare to them. And we were there for less than 48 hours. And I hear you, people. When we emailed out to our supporters that we were going to Paris and that we were crowdfunding our trip, a lot of people emailed us back and said, I don't want to pay for your holiday in Paris.
Oh yeah, it's not a holiday.
I get that. So I thought I would talk about the things about this trip that happened behind the scenes that I didn't want any of you to know. And it's sort of irrelevant because I didn't want to seem like a whiner, because I'm not. I'm the outdoorsiest person at the company. You could drop me off in the bush in the middle of nowhere. I will be the mayor of a small community in 6 months. So I did not want to complain. And I didn't want you, our beloved viewers and supporters, to be angry at Ezra for the conditions that Alexa and I were experiencing, because it was sort of sight unseen. And we started off the show complaining about the weather. The weather in Paris was atrocious. And again, I'm a -40 kind of girl. I can dress for that. But this was like wind and rain coming in sideways. So it just stung your face, and the kind of thing that an umbrella can't protect you from because the wind just turns your umbrella sideways. Our
Yeah.
equipment was wet. We were drenched, chilled to the bone all day long. Um, I have to travel from Edmonton to Paris, which is like a day and a half trip in airports all the way there. Extreme layovers once you hit Toronto, and then
Mhm.
carrying on. So it's 3 days worth of travel for 2 days worth of work usually.
Mhm. Yeah.
Every single flight I had was delayed on the tarmac, or, as is the case on my flights home, completely canceled and then rebooked. So, instead of coming home through Toronto and getting back to Edmonton, then turning around, by the way, with only an hour and a half at home in the middle of the night to go back to Toronto for work, my flights were canceled. Even later, had to go through Montreal and go all the way back. So that's whatever. That's air travel in Justin Trudeau's Canada. He broke that too. But we book these trips sight unseen. And I should tell you, I think I did 5 videos from on the ground there in
Yeah.
like less than 48 hours. We were not even allowed into the cathedral, but we wanted to show you as much as we could from there. Alexa did 4 videos, all of hers in French, and then like streeters on another topic. I think we ate 1 meal while we were there, like we were giving her all day. And I should tell you about our accommodations because we booked these things sight unseen. So maybe let's, Olivia, if you would mind, because again, I want to reiterate, when we travel, we try to find the cleanest, safest, but most affordable accommodations.
Right.
And we bunk up sometimes if it's 2 gals, to save money. This was smaller than twin beds pushed together. These were 2 cots and a headboard. You can see which side is mine. I'm super tidy. And then there's Alexa's. And we had to like turn sideways to go around the bed. So this is it, and just a little tiny bathroom. And it was like a little, like in our 5th wheel trailer that we used for camping.
Yeah.
The shower stall is bigger in my 5th wheel trailer. Just so you know, I didn't take a picture of the bathroom because our stuff was all over the place. There was not even, it was a sink, but no place to put your stuff on the sink.
Mhm.
And let's show I don't know if you can see in the corner there's like a blue light coming in.
Yep.
Sort of see it on the curtains. Can we show what that blue light was?
Oh dear.
The hotel
Oh, God.
sign right outside the window all day, all night.
Did it make a buzzing sound too? Like bzz?
Yes, yes. And I don't know if anybody, I watch a lot of Seinfeld. I don't know. I can just rewatch it over and over again. Do you remember when Kenny Rogers Roasters moved in next door to Kramer's and the red light came into his house all night and he couldn't sleep and he was losing his mind?
I've
That was
seen
me
so
after
many, but not that.
2 days of travel to get there. And then this is how we had to sleep. And we worked till like 1:30 every night. So this is just coming in the window all night. And then Alexa heard scratching in the walls one night. I'm from Alberta. I've never seen a rat alive in my life. I've never. We don't have them here.
Really?
I'm unaccustomed to it. We don't
Come to
have rats.
BC.
We don't have rats. Mice, okay, I get it. But like large scratching in the wall at night. And then show the last one.
This is yeah.
The
Oh
cockroach.
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Now, when we got there, time is of the essence. You just throw down your bags and we headed out to work and it was very difficult to work in Paris because the streets are blocked off. So one day, according to my Samsung Ring, we walked 17 kilometers just walking in the pouring rain. But we just thought, you know what, we're only going to be sleeping here and sleeping just a few hours every single night. We're not going to try to move hotels. And how could we even find another hotel room? 40,000 extra people were in the city for the reopening of the cathedral. I mean, you just get what you get. So that was our luxury vacation that some of the critics said I took while Canadians are struggling. We did it as cheaply as possible. And I did not want to complain. And I don't want to complain. But I saw those emails and I thought I better explain myself. And
Mhm.
had those emails not come in, I would never have said a word. I didn't even want to say anything to Ezra because I didn't want him to feel bad, right? He would
Right.
feel horrible about sending Alexa and I's halfway across the world. And like for me, it's like a full 2 days extra travel than Alexa
Mhm.
to get there, and you're just in I wouldn't want to say squalor, but and the elevator, there was no elevator in the hotel, so 3 flights of stairs carrying our
With
equipment
your
up every single night
suitcase.
with our
Mhm.
suitcases too. So anyway,
Well,
that is that. If people want to support that trip, we still have some incurred costs, if you can believe it. It's at NotreDameRestored.com.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. I've only been on one foreign mission, but you're right. No time for something called jet lag. You work like dogs to get the news out, and you don't have time to normally do this and let the people know really what it takes and how exhausted people are. But I've had incidents too with bed bugs and things like that.
Yeah,
But we suck it up and we bring the people the news. And the most thing is, if you don't want to support this, you don't have to. You can
right.
watch these amazing reports for free, but thank God for the people who do come together and make this possible. And there's been many times where Rebel has gone international, and the people there are saying, thank you. Thank you
Right.
so much for coming this. So here, Canada gets put on the map for having this independent news be the only one telling the other side of the story out there, too. So I am very glad you brought this up, and I think people will appreciate, yeah, even if they were thinking you were just having wine and cheese all day.
I think my only meal there was a charcuterie board because I don't eat a lot of bread. We didn't have
Yeah.
time to eat. We did go see the Eiffel Tower like at midnight one night because we were
Yeah.
sort of done.
How dare
That was
you?
all the work. That was all the work that we could do, and we saw a robbery while we were there. Like, and I was like, you know what? We better get out of here. Like, we just have to. I'm over Paris. I must go home
My
to the middle
gosh.
of nowhere. And then when I finally got home, because my flights were delayed, rebooked, delayed on the tarmac too, that's a real joy. I got home to Edmonton. By the time I got back to my house, it was 1:30 in the morning. I had to leave sort of by 3 a.m. to catch a flight back to Toronto. So anyway,
Yeah. Well, thank
that's
you
the
for your
luxury
hard work.
vacation.
Yeah. All right.
All right. You know what, Drea, do you want to read this um,
Yeah.
Rumble
Let's
Premium sponsorship, and then we'll get into the news of the day. Sorry about my complaining. I'm not a princess. I want everybody to know
She
I
isn't.
am
She really
very outdoorsy. I have not even mentioned the horrors of the hotels that Kian and I had to stay in making documentaries. One time I was checking into a hotel in the lower mainland of BC, and I went out to get my luggage, and the police were arresting a guy on the hood of the rental car. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else. That's fine. Like it was,
my
but I never even
God.
brought that up. I was just like, I'm a grown up. I'll just deal with this
Right.
while I'm here. So, anyway, go ahead, Drea.
It was time. It was time. All right. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company, a company that hasn't censored Rebel News and our supporters. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they felt a pressure from Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers because they don't get much. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO. When you purchase an annual subscription, go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy if you watch us on Rumble and watch everything on Rumble. I mean, come on, that is
Yeah.
the easiest thing to do. And God forbid we lose that platform. I want to see it just go up and up instead of the
Yeah.
opposite direction.
Where would we have been during COVID if
Yeah.
we had to rely on the likes of the censorship jerks over at YouTube?
May I
You know,
remind our viewers how many times, anytime we said vaccine injury, actually, we couldn't even say it. We would like do
no,
symbols like this, and then we would have to tell you to go off and go to Rumble. We would have to, our editors would have to make 2 edits of videos, one that was for YouTube, and then let you know, go on Rumble to watch what really happened. Like, that's horrible. So,
I know.
such
And
a
it made
good,
my job so complicated because part of my
yeah,
job is to make sure that we don't get kicked off of YouTube,
yeah.
because there are 1.3 million sets of eyeballs who watch us there. And so for us to get disconnected from those people would be a real disaster. And so I had to almost daily go
Mhm.
and look to see what are the YouTube restrictions today because they were changing as it went. The thing that could have got you kicked
Yeah,
off the day before and lose your 1 million subscriber YouTube channel would be perfectly fine the very next day.
right.
It was
And
atrocious.
and I'm not going to say any names, but take a good look at who did speak about these things, even on the conservative side of the news, and who was still
Yeah,
getting their ads and who wasn't. The rebels were
exactly.
not.
Exactly. There are a
Yeah.
lot of people, even in the conservative sphere,
Yeah.
who just, and you know what? That's a decision they have to make.
Yeah.
It's a business decision, but I believe our business decision, part of those things revolve around why people trust us and come to us, and that's for
Mhm.
the truth, the unvarnished truth. Okay, speaking of unvarnished truth, our idiot in chief, Justin Trudeau, I think, I think he really wants a trade war with Trump because then somebody else is
Mm,
responsible for the destruction of the Canadian
right.
economy instead of him, right?
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau cannot
Mhm.
campaign against Pierre Poilievre. He can't. He loses. He continues to lose. I mean, he's been consistently 20 some odd points down in the polls percentage wise, 100 some odd seats down when they break out the seat count projections. So there's no way. But he thinks, Hail Mary, I'm going to campaign against Trump. So we've got, and Doug Ford, for some reason, has decided this is a great thing to do too. Canada's most unpopular premier, Doug Ford, hated by the left because he's apparently conservative, hated by the right because he's not. Um, he says, for some reason, that he wants to cut off energy exports to the United States. Let's look at this and then we'll look at his ally and then we'll look at what the actual energy producing province has to say about it.
Yeah.
Energy threat that you mentioned last night.
Yes.
Does Ontario actually have the power to turn off the lights itself, or do you need to go to the federal government and they do it? How would that process actually work? Can Ontario do anything on its own?
Well, first of all, it's a last resort. We power 1.5 million homes, and if they put on tariffs, it's going to be unaffordable for Americans to buy electricity. Just like if they put tariffs on the 4.3 million barrels of oil that's Alberta shipping down to the U.S. If you put 25%, that increases every barrel of oil by, every gallon of gasoline by $1. So I don't think that President-elect Trump wants that to happen. What we're sending a message to the U.S. You come and attack Ontario, you attack livelihoods of people of Ontario and Canadians. We're going to use every tool in our toolbox to defend Ontarians and Canadians across the border. And let's hope that never comes to that point. Let's hope we can get through this trade deal. The problem is not with Canada. The problem is with China. And China shipping in parts to Mexico, Mexico slapping on Made in Mexico stickers and shipping them up through the US and Canada and taking American and Canadian jobs. That's the problem. And as I said yesterday, it's very, very clear. Mexico has a choice to stand with Beijing or stand with Washington.
He's missing the point altogether.
Completely.
It's not about the products and where the products are made. It's about Trump using tariffs as the stick.
Yeah.
There's the carrot and the stick. right now we're about to get the stick across the head because Justin Trudeau won't do the things that are in Canada's interest. Like Donald Trump is going to impose tariffs on Canadian products because Justin Trudeau won't do what's in the best interest of Canada. And that's cracking down on drug trafficking, gun trafficking, human trafficking, and illegal migration on our borders.
You're so right. They call us cousins. And now it's like, this is the older cousin being like, okay, enough. We've had almost 9 years of this. Get in line. And he's got to deliver on his promises too with the border. So he's saying, let's get our closest, I don't want to say allies anymore with the way the premiers are talking, but let's get them on board here. Crack down on the drugs, crack down on the borders, do what should have been done over the last 8 to 9 years. And I think you're right when you say this is probably one of the best things that have happened to Trudeau. I mean, they always want to vilify Trump. So now we've got him, the tariffs, and you're right, it's a complete deflection from the whole reason why, as you say, the stick is being wagged at us.
Yeah, you know what? I should tell everybody I interviewed Premier Danielle Smith last night in Calgary at the McDougall Center. I did ask her about this. And the video will be coming out, I think, later on today. Hopefully, we'll show this clip on it later. We'll make this the last one, Olivia. She's just so lovely. Like, and she's got all the time in the world for independent media. Like, we're all sort of waiting there to go in to talk to her. And I'm shooting the breeze with the guys from Western Standard. And then Sid and I are packing up her equipment. And then Key and Bexy from Counter Signals coming in. And as we were coming in, the CBC was leaving. Like, she just has all the time for everybody because she's the premier for all of us.
Yes, that's the way it should be.
Right? Like, not just the people who get their news from the mainstream media. Now, once somebody said, we're going to cut off energy exports, the green lunatics were like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Let's get in a trade war. Let's crush the Canadian economy in a trade war with the United States. And there's Elizabeth May, who just will not go away. Back at her saying, yeah. Oh, no energy for people? Let's do it, regardless of the ramifications. God.
Coupling this with, I guess, what happened at the leaders meeting last week, and then what we've seen since the premier's meeting last night with Ford coming out and threatening, I guess, to withhold energy. I don't know if that means hydro, what that means, but, and then...
Oh, it should mean oil.
I don't know how much oil Ford has, but we then...
Canada has a lot, and we ship most of it to the United States.
Mm-hmm. But on that note,
Alberta
we had
has a
Premier
lot.
Smith coming out saying she's going to create a new, I guess, border force. I don't know if this is a good cop, bad cop thing that they're doing comparing with what Freeland and Beaublanc were, but how do you see this sort of...
I think, I really do believe, as much as I'm enraged by the hypocrisy from the Liberals on climate, there are many things the Liberals do that I can't support. But I am really absolutely, as leader of the Green Party of Canada, in support of us pulling together as a country, Équipe Canada, Team Canada. I didn't think I'd ever find myself thinking, you go, Doug. But when I see Doug Ford, say, okay, so maybe we'll hold our energy. It's best that we stick together. It's best that we not freelance. It's best that we say to Mr. Trump, we're listening. We hear you. What I hear is a man who doesn't understand trade deficits. He converts a trade deficit into giving us money. If we succeed in selling them more things than they sell us, that doesn't mean they're giving us money. I find it baffling that anyone who claims to have an education in anything like business, as Mr. Trump claims he has, could think that the United States is handing over billions of dollars subsidizing Canada and Mexico. You think he'd be embarrassed to say something that displays such ignorance of the way of how you interpret a trade deficit. But in any case, we need to be prepared. We need to take him seriously. A 25% tariff on all Canadian goods exported to the United States would be devastating for our economy and for jobs. And I think that as leaders gathered in that room, Monsieur Blanchet, who is never accused Yves-François Blanchet of being a nationalist, except for Quebec. But we're on the same page. We have to protect Canada's economy and Canada's jobs from Trump's threats. And certainly Mr. Singh and Mr. Blanchet and I were very happy to say we're going to do whatever we can to support a Team Canada approach.
I'm noticing a specific name of those leaders you met.
I think Mr. Poilievre, to be charitable, he may be on the fence about it.
She's a crazy person. Running her mouth like that about Justin or about Donald Trump is a terrible idea. But it's real interesting to see a socialist who's never been in charge of anything in her entire life, no business acumen whatsoever. You cannot be a socialist and understand business. Say that Donald Trump doesn't understand business of all things. Like, he doesn't understand business and trade. The man is a billionaire businessman.
That's literally what he was best known for before being president, and he's continued that in many ways. I mean, get her back on the stage drunk. She's more more easy to listen to with them. But I mean, her cheerleading Doug Ford, I mean, that's how you know things have gone too far.
Right.
That you're on the wrong direction when you have Elizabeth May cheerleading the whole situation.
Yeah, I had some things to say, but I'll just move on because we'll go on to the next premier, next socialist, who is also thinking that he can fight with the mighty Donald Trump. And again, what is Donald Trump asking us to do? Do things that are in the best interest and in favor of public safety for Canadians. That's what he's asking us to do. Why won't they just do these things for Canadians? Why do they have to be hammered with the 25% tariff to do these things? These are things they should have been doing for us in the first place.
Anyway,
Especially
this premier.
Let's go to Evie.
There we go. My premier.
I had the opportunity to meet yesterday with the Prime Minister and premiers from across Canada. This week, I met with our Chamber of Commerce in British Columbia. I spent an hour this morning with the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade, talking about these issues and strategizing on how we're going to move forward. What we've heard from the business sector is that these tariffs are absolutely going to have an impact in British Columbia, a significant impact on jobs, on families here in the province, but also that these tariffs are going to have a huge impact on Americans as well, driving up the cost of energy, driving up the cost of housing, and making life more unaffordable for residents of the United States. And no one will benefit from this. I've also had the opportunity to speak with labor leaders about the impact on employment in the province. Everyone is committed to work together in British Columbia as part of unified Team Canada response to these unjustified tariffs. And nothing is off the table. We will ensure, as a message I deliver to the Prime Minister and other premiers, we will ensure in British Columbia we do our part to fight against these tariffs, to ensure the British Columbians are protected. And we want to ensure that it is a unified Team Canada approach where we are all doing our part right across the country to respond.
Okay, well, first of all, it was like a minute ago when he was saying, this isn't my jurisdiction. So I don't know what has switched here, but this is BC's premier. So let's put that into perspective. We have the highest amount of overdoses. I think it was 2016 where we declared it an emergency. And since then, there's been 21,000 overdoses. And here, he should be coming up with the idea himself. How about working together instead of saying you're going to fight and issue these threats and things like that? They should be working together for a solution. And I think that's what Trump wants to hear. He wants to hear that you're going to take these issues seriously, as we should.
Yeah, like RIP BC Softwood Lumber. It's in a constant trade dispute. Now imagine that's going to get worse for the lumber industry because EB won't do what he's supposed to do as a premier, and that is do the right thing by British Columbians. Like literally, that is all Trump wants us to do. Let's turn our eyes to the greatest premier in this country.
Agreed. Do we have a shirt with her on it yet?
Yeah,
we need that. We should be walking it.
she immediately after the election of President Trump started building relationships with the Western governors. Those are our trade partners. We have shared industries, agriculture, beef. A lot of Alberta beef goes down to the United States, gets processed, comes back to Canada, gets sold, and back and forth. They're buying our oil. So shared economies, shared goals, and the majority of them are conservative. And so very friendly with Trump. She's, I think she's the unofficial Canadian ambassador to Washington at this point. In
Smith for
spite,
premier. Or I
in
mean Smith for
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. I was going to say president next.
And that is in spite of what Justin Trudeau is running his mouth off at. I mean, she is not leaving the relationship between Alberta and the United States up to the likes of Doug Ford, Trudeau, EB, Elizabeth May. Like, she's making sure that their comments on Trump and the tariffs are not the last thing our American friends hear. So this is what she had to say in response to Doug Ford saying we're going to turn the energy off. Are ya? Are you? I don't think so.
What do you make of Doug Ford's vow to cut off energy to the U.S. in the wake of the 25% tariff threats?
Well, let me be clear from the Alberta perspective. Under no circumstances will Alberta agree to cut off oil and gas exports. We don't support tariffs. I don't support tariffs on Canadian goods, and I don't support tariffs on US goods, because all it does is make life more expensive for everyday Canadians and everyday Americans. So instead, we're taking a diplomatic approach, and we're meeting with our allies in the US. We're making the case for Alberta oil and gas to be part of the solution to energy affordability, to energy security, and to, generally speaking, North American defense security as well. And of course, we'll work with our counterparts in Montana in a shared border arrangement so that we can improve public safety, crack down on illegal migrants and illegal drug trafficking. And that's part of the reason why we're announcing this today. We know that there are issues that have been identified that are irritants to the current administration. We've identified those as a problem in Alberta as well. We're accelerating our plan, but that is our approach, is one of diplomacy, not threats.
Slow clap.
She's the best. She's the best. Yeah, of course. I have things that I'm critical of her for, but that is exactly the right approach. Don't leave Trudeau to be, like I said, the last word in Trump's ear. She's decided I'm going to build my own path with the United States, and that was something that Elizabeth May took snide outrage over when she said, "Well, we don't need people freelancing." She's not freelancing. She's sticking up for the interests of Albertans, and what's good for Alberta, you better believe it's good for the rest of the country as the economic engine that fuels the Canadian economy. And that was at a press conference yesterday where Daniel Smith announced a border patrol in Alberta. Trump is saying, you guys have to fix your border. And Daniel Smith is saying, okay, that's federal jurisdiction. But if Justin Trudeau is not going to do it, we're going to do it. We're already leaders in drug treatment.
Yes.
And we are going to be leaders in stopping drug and human trafficking on the border. So they announced like this integrated task force. And it's not necessarily in response to Trump, because the sheriffs that have come through the training program, they are already graduating. So this is something that she wanted to do, but it seemed like a good time to make the announcement right now. So this was already in the works, but hey, we want to show not only Trump that we're doing these things, but the other provinces that you can do these things too. You don't have to leave it up to Justin Trudeau. It's a $29 million so-called investment government spend in Alberta that the feds should be recompensating us for. But if it saves Alberta lives and stops human and drug trafficking, okay, we'll do it.
BC so close to Alberta, but yet so far away. It's like you mentioned the treatment, right? I mean, that's exactly what we should be doing. EB's, that was one of the biggest things against him, is our overdose crisis out here. And all he had to do was say, you know what, we're going to start adopting more of what our friends in Alberta are doing. And that's the same thing with here and the tariffs. But nope, they have to take the hardcore socialist approach. And hopefully he listens to Smith. But what are the odds? What are the odds, like when you have other premiers saying this? What is actually going to happen? What do you think?
I don't know what's going to happen to the rest of you. But I think we're going to be just fine. I think Danielle Smith is going to the inauguration. She is not scared to engage with the Trump administration, to get the Trump cooties on her, as it were. She's not scared of any of that. She's happily working with the Western governors to protect the Alberta economy. And I think at the end of the day, the likes of Doug Ford and David Eby will be grateful for it, because I think the work that she's doing might save us all.
Lord help us.
So I hinted at my sit-down interview with the premier. We've got a clip of that. I asked her what the biggest issue facing Albertans in 2025 is. Let's show it.
Premier, what do you think is the biggest issue facing Albertans in 2025?
I think it is the issue of tariffs. I think it will be really painful to the Canadian economy if 25% across the board tariffs come in, if there is a trade war that happens, and I hope it doesn't. And if it goes on for very long, which I hope it doesn't as well. So that's why we're doing our part to address the border issues, as well as try to do what we can to avoid tariffs altogether, or avoid them on energy in particular. I mean, I think that we've got to be prepared to do what we can to meet the Americans in halfway on some of the things that they've raised with us. But if we don't have that, I mean, to me, everything is looking up. I just saw a press release before I came in. 3 oil sands companies are talking about increasing their production. It's been a long time since we've had that level of enthusiasm in the energy sector. Same thing with the Canadian Association of Energy Contractors. They said that we've seen an increase in drilling rigs from previous years. We've got major investments in AI data centers being developed, major investments in alternative energies, whether it's geothermal or hydrogen. We've got a vibrant and robust film industry. We've got more investment happening in venture capital in AI. We've got $3 billion that have been announced in investment in agri-food industry. We've got, I've been told by the forestry industry that we've got one of the best markets for investing in forestry. It seems like everything is ticking on all cylinders. And so with that big threat hanging over us, that's a real problem. But if we can have that go away, I think Alberta is just going to continue to boom.
That's right. I know.
Yeah.
I'm
So
so sorry for the
refreshing.
rest of you. I'm so sorry for the rest of you. Okay, that is a very long first segment, 40 minutes long. Let's hit an ad break, and then we've got a couple of chats that Drea can read, and then we'll get into where David Menzies is today and why Drea Humphrey is with me right now. So let's do that.
This Christmas, get ready to unwrap the perfect gift for the truth seeker on your list, or even just for yourself. From the Rebel News Store, our brand new holiday collection is here, featuring the boldest designs for the most festive of Canadians. We already knew that Canadians weren't feeling it, and when I say it, I mean our government. But after Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland's recent vibe session comments, we now know for sure. Even the Liberals are admitting it.
A lot of economists have been talking about the vibe session.
So whether you're sipping on hot cocoa or dodging the bad vibes of our current Liberal regime, show off your holiday spirit with designs that speak the truth, like this one. All I want for Christmas is a new Prime Minister. And don't miss out. Use code REBELXmas for 15% off of your total order, because it's time for some new vibes this holiday season. So shop now at rebelnewsstore.com. Use coupon code REBELXmas for 15% off of your order. From all of us here at The Rebel to all of you at home, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
All right.
And for those of you worried about shipping because of the Canada Post stuff, if you're not in a rural area, it shouldn't be too much of a problem even today, is my understanding, because they don't really rely on Canada Post. Now, let me read a couple
wait. I just, before we move on, this
Yes.
shirt, Jingle Bells, I know you, there's some parts of me where it may appear that you're seeing right through me because they're green.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's You can actually, if I,
You're AI.
I-
I knew you were AI. I knew this
know.
whole time.
do you know what's creepy? I have a green tattoo on the back of my arm, and if I
Oh,
hold it up, you can see through my body. It's quite creepy.
Oh,
But anyways,
Lord.
this shirt, it says Jingle Bells Trudeau Smells, and it says Trudeau Smells in like
Oh.
small lettering underneath. You can, again, because it's green, it's difficult to see. But this is also in the store, and it's fun, very
It
fun.
is fun.
I wore it over like over the last day, and it was lots of compliments. But I'm in
And
Alberta, so
and 15% off. That's a new promo for us. It's a
yes,
pretty good one. So, so I'm going to read a couple of Rumble rants. It's not too late for you to get involved. Go to Rumble, and if you donate $5 or more, we read it. Ryerson Gary, thanks again, donates $5. Says David is not in today, but I have to say it. The folks at Toronto Star have figured out what their rag is worth. 6 months digital edition for $1. Interesting. So, so or $1. Oh my gosh.
why
What?
even charge? What?
Yeah, what can you get
What's
for
the point?
$1 these days? Like, what is that covering? Alberta Don, fun name, $5 as well. Thank you. Doug Ford threatens to shut off power to the US. What does he think would happen if Trump offered a huge incentive for automakers to return to America?
Ouch.
Dun,
Yes,
dun,
ouch.
dun. Yeah,
Exactly. You know, like
exactly.
this is stupid stuff these premiers are doing. Because Trump, if you want to rumble, he'll rumble. Like, so I would
Exactly.
not do this.
I think he's coming in really strong so that he gets really quick results. I think that's the way Trump is handling things. And if these guys want to go to a trade war with it and do stuff like that, we are going to come out the losers. Ugh.
Yeah. And again, I reiterate, he's not asking us to do anything crazy. He's asking us to do our best to stem the tide of illegal drug, gun, and human trafficking on our border. I feel like that is not an unreasonable ask. In fact, it's something we as Canadians should demand of our government.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, we've got one quick Rumble ad read, and then we'll get into where David is, and then I think we should talk about some BC stuff. So I'll let you select those, Drea, before we run out of time on the show. And we also have Ezra's special project we have to talk about. So it's
That's a lot.
kids. Yeah, I know it is a lot. We're gonna have to squeeze things in. Kids Guide to President Trump. I have to take a minute to stop and address the parents watching the show, which should be all of you. This is not a show for kids. Teenagers, okay, maybe. But I don't know if nothing I say is interesting enough for a little one. As President Trump prepares for his second term, he said he wants to teach kids to love their country, reversing radical anti-American rhetoric that kids are hearing in classrooms across the country. The best place for kids to start to learn all about President Trump and his vision to make America great again during his president term has been put together by Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee's team put together the Kids Guide to President Trump Victory Edition and celebrate Trump's return to the White House. They're giving it away for free. This book is great because it features fun illustrations and content teaching kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his goals for his second term. Mike Huckabee wants to send your family this free guide so you can teach your kids the truth about President Trump and his mission to make America great again. But please hurry because supplies are limited. You can claim your free Kids Guide to President Trump Victory Edition for your kids right now. See offer details and order your free guide at kidstrumpguide.com. That's kidstrumpguide.com. You know what's funny? It's very difficult sometimes to read these ads because our American friends who sometimes put these ads together do not use the Oxford comma the way they should. And so I have a difficult time knowing in the sentence where I'm supposed to sort of start the next part of it. Use an Oxford comma, it's your friend. Okay, I think that's it. Let's get into where David Menzies is. David Menzies has also done a planes, trains, and automobiles style journey, where I believe he is the John Candy character, and poor Lincoln J is his traveling partner, Steve Martin, I guess. He flew from Toronto all the way to Winnipeg, then got in a rental car in Winnipeg, drove 3.5 hours back through Manitoba, then through that little portion of Minnesota that sticks up into the province, and then out the other side, and then through Western Ontario over to Emo. Why? because the Pride bullies are up to no good there. So if people followed my coverage of what's happening in Emo, I covered the Human Rights Tribunal, where an outside Pride organization, which is funded by the federal government, demanded not just a declaration of, I don't know, Pride Week, Pride Month, Pride Season, Pride Day, whatever it is. They wanted it declared, and they wanted to fly the Pride flag on the town flagpole, which they don't even have. None of these people are actually from the town of Emo. And to my actual shock, because I sat in on the entire tribunal hearing, the town lost, and the mayor. And so the mayor has to go to re-education, and now he's had his bank account garnished to the tune of $5,000. And I think that's more than the mayor's salary. Mayor Harold McQuaker, he's a local businessman. I think they have a trucking company. He does this out of love. Like, I think he makes $3,500 a year. And he refused to back down. He said, you don't, first of all, you're not from here. You don't have the right to force us to use our municipal infrastructure for your political purposes. Municipal infrastructure that they don't have, by the way. And they want a neutrality in these things. And for some reason, they won. And
because
McQuaker
it's a Human Rights Tribunal.
And McQuaker called it extortion, and he said he wasn't going to pay, so they went and took it out of his bank account. And he still has to go to the re-education gulag, which I believe will be like putting a cat in a wet paper bag. I don't think he's going to go. So anyway, David Menzies did the planes, trains, and automobiles trip to get there, because today they are. Mayor Harold is making a statement after an in-camera council meeting, which means that David could not go before the council to hear what was happening. But this is David's first video from on the ground. It's -20 there. And David did not have a good trip either, because they had to sleep in their SUV. The first night. They got in late, and then they had to sleep in their SUV. -20.
Oh my gosh.
So again, another luxury vacation for the Rebel News journalists. Let's hear.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Emo Township, Ontario. And folks, I'm here to cover a story that has been generating headlines around the world for all the wrong reasons. You see, this little township, population 1,300, was recently ordered by the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal that it must recognize Pride Month, that it must raise a Pride flag, even though this township doesn't have a flagpole, but never mind. The township has been fined $10,000. Mayor Harold McQuaker has already had $5,000 taken out of his personal bank account. Now, in about 90 minutes, there's going to be an in-camera meeting by the township to figure out their strategy of how they're going to respond to this ruling. It's in camera, as I said. That means we cannot come in to cover it, but we are hoping that after the meeting, we'll be able to interview Mayor McQuaker and the councillors, see what their strategy is going forward with this outrageous ruling regarding compelled speech. Folks, we need your help. Can you go to pridebullies.com? pridebullies.com. We want you to sign our petition, and can you help us with our expenses? They're very meager. Emo Township, it is so remote. It's closer actually to an airstrip in Minnesota than any airstrip in Ontario. Lincoln Jay and I, we had to sleep in our SUV last night. There was no room at the inn. So we're on a very shoestring budget. If you can, please chip in and help us report this very important story.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
And look at this. Oh, go on. Yeah.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, so the organization who brought forward this thing, this human rights complaint, is Borderland Pride. Borderland Pride is funded by the federal government. And what they're demanding is an official acknowledgement by the municipality. The municipality has also been fined $10,000. Mayor McQuaker has been fined $5,000. And they did have a pride parade. The activists from outside the community colonized little tiny Emo, and they brought their cars and they drove around and had their own little unsanctioned pride parade, and nobody did anything to them. They just let them have their stupid little day. But I guess the point of this all is, who's in charge there? Is it the mayor, the elected mayor? Or is it Borderland Pride, who is funded by Justin Trudeau to do this sort of garbage, to colonize these rural communities with their uptown values? People continue, by the way, to vote for Mayor Harold. So there were originally there were 3 councillors, one of them being the mayor, involved in voting down the celebration of Pride in Emo. Look at this. I would say that that's vandalism. Anyway, this is vandalism. One of the 3 didn't run for re-election after the controversy. He just didn't run for regular election. He didn't put his name back up because he's like, for the pittance they pay us, why am I doing this to myself, right?
Yeah.
The other 2 did run and they both got reelected. So if the people of Emo disagreed with what the mayor was doing, he would have lost.
Exactly. No,
Anyway.
they don't disagree. They were sitting there happily. And when David said that they don't even have a flagpole, what exactly are they ordering them to do? Stand there? They want the mayor to stand there and flag it himself. I just shared an image of Douglas W. Judson gloating about the situation.
He's the lawyer.
He's the lawyer, but it also says here that he's the
litigant
co-chair, isn't he, of the Borderland Pride? Yeah, so he's the co-chair of Borderland Pride with a sign that says "Make Emo Gay Again." But here's the thing. We've done many interviews on what I call pride supremacy, and the gay people want out, many of them anyways. They're like, leave us out of this stuff. We fought for equal rights, not supremacy. We've got our gay marriage. We want to be left alone. Stop talking about us. The LGB wants to separate from the rest of them. So put your sign down, calm down. This is very frightening, though. This is full-on communism. We talked about bank seizures with the trucker convoy. Now you have a mayor representing his constituents, not wanting to waste money and time on things like this. Doesn't even have a flagpole, but yet they win all of this.
Yeah. I love how cantankerous he is about this, though. Where he's like, no, this is extortion. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not going to your stupid re-education camp. I'm not doing any of this stuff. Like, he's
gotta love it.
Everybody's cantankerous Fox News watching grandpa.
Yeah.
You know, like, and which makes him absolutely severely normal. And quite frankly, probably the perfect guy to be mayor of this town. I don't know him personally, but the people there seem to like and support him based on his electoral record. And the man doesn't need any of this garbage. He has, I think it's a trucking company in and around the area. He just does this because this is where he lives, and he wants it to be a place that's good for his grandkids and his kids. And I remember listening to the Human Rights Tribunal. Borderland Pride complained that Mayor Harold's son had said something objectionable about the Pride organization. And that became evidence. And it's like, so now your relatives' statements can be used against you? God, I hope that's not the case in real life.
Exactly.
Like, it was just so stupid. They're like, well, he said that the Pride is this, this, and that. And, you know, when they're battering your dad through the news, yeah, I would probably say some pretty mean things too.
Exactly. Well, I'm so glad that Rebel News is there. Such an important story for us to cover. We have been bringing the other side of the story on this issue, and now this is the story to show how out of hand it is, even though the pendulum is switching in some areas.
Yeah, if you want to sign the petition and support David's journalism there, you can do it all at pridebullies.com. If they can do this in Emo, 1,300 people literally in the middle of nowhere. Like, the little corner of far away from civilization. I think that's the point of doing this to emo, by the way,
Of course.
is because if you can do it to emo, you can do it anywhere.
So
And
share
so this
it.
is the battleground. Share it, support emo. I wish we had the address to the municipal office there on that page. We could have people send handwritten letters of support for the mayor.
Well, let's
'Cause,
add that.
We
Yeah.
should. He deserves that, especially since I think the Canada Post strike is over today. Did they order them back to work?
Did they?
I don't know. I didn't notice that there was a
Okay.
Canada Post strike. I'm just like, you know what? I'm getting all my bills by email, and oh, here's my new cat.
Oh, yay! I was hoping. Oh my gosh.
Hi, kitty. He is on my computer. I'm full of spelling mistakes today because he just likes to sit on the computer. His name is Trigger. He's
Oh
named
my
after
gosh.
Willie Nelson's guitar, which is of course downstream of Roy Rogers' horse. And he's sending emails on my behalf right now by walking all
Oh
over my
gosh.
computer. But he is just adjusting. The dog is coming on a little bit too strong,
Yeah.
and the other cat is uh, she doesn't really like him yet. So we'll figure out if they all get along. But I didn't know if he'd make an appearance, but he's
My
here now.
cat just got neutered, so he's depressed in the corner. So I
Oh,
won't.
I
I
can
won't
imagine.
let his debut be with his little cone on his head. Ryerson Gary, I'll read this. Another Rumble rant donates $5. This piggybacks from his last comment. For only $1, you get columns like Heather Malick's selection for 5 persons of the year. 3 or 5 are Kamala Harris, go figure, Valinsky, and Justin. Oh my gosh. There you go. What $5 well spent.
Yeah,
I think
but-
we were going to tackle. Oh, yeah, go on.
No, go ahead. No. I think that we used to call her Heather Malice because everything
Oh.
she wrote was just evil. What do we want to do next? You choose, Drea.
I just want to talk a little bit about Kenny Chu
Yeah.
putting in his bid to be nominated as a candidate for the Conservative Party of BC. Now, if you followed our reports over the last almost few years, I guess, with Kenny Chu, he's the former MP for Richmond East riding, Steveston Richmond East riding, and he came out early saying, hey, listen, looks like part of my loss, we can't say all of it, was because of foreign interference from China. There was this whole, smear campaign that came through WeChat, which is a very popular social media platform used by Chinese speaking people. And of course, this is Richmond. And it said these things, it called him racist against Chinese people. It was
Right.
ridiculous. So we've covered that the whole way. And then his I don't even want to say suspicions. The facts he used to come up with this opinion have only been basically confirmed through more probing. So he's gone through the ringer. Imagine, it's one thing to lose, that's sad enough, but to lose when you think that there was cheating involved from from China. And by the way, this was because he wanted to put a registry forward to help prevent things like foreign interference. So it's I think it's worth noting that he is wanting to be nominated. He wants to give it a shot again. And I put some pictures in there. There you go. So he's got a little meeting on Saturday. I mean, I'm not promoting him, but the guy's been through the ringer and we've been following this story so closely. So Saturday the 14th at 3 p.m. Is when he's officially launching that. So yeah.
I admire. What is this? Cat's trying to drink my coffee.
It's going to be an interesting editing day.
Oh God, the amount of messages he sent with his butt into the company Slack channel that I've had to delete. But Kenny Chu has really been put through the ringer, and the bravery that he shows and determination that he shows. I remember him testifying at the Foreign Interference Commission that when he chose to enter politics and just municipal politics after he moved to Canada, he knew that that would be the end of his relationship with his family in Hong Kong, because he knew that they would now be targeted because he was a Canadian parliamentarian. And he has been the target of foreign interference. We know what the Chinese did out of the embassy in Toronto to Michael Chong, targeting his family.
Mhm.
And the Liberals whipped up. They not only did they just allow the lie to hang there about Kenny Chu that he was somehow racist against Chinese people, but they whipped it up. They actively promoted it. That was Parm Baines, in case you're
Mhm.
wondering who the Liberal MP was that won in his riding and maligned the reputation of Kenny Chu for his own political benefit and benefiting from Chinese foreign interference. Oh, don't drink a candle, cat. But so I admire him that he's not giving up, and frankly, I hope he wins. I'm not one to endorse a politician. I'm not endorsing Kenny. I actually don't even know Kenny Chu personally. I just don't like what happened to him, and I admire his perseverance and personal strength.
Yeah. And I only know him from interviewing. It looks like he's agreeable to another interview about why. Why do you want to put yourself through this again? And do you think you're going to be targeted even more? So stay tuned for that. In a statement, he says, like many Canadians who came here as immigrants have told me that after more than 9 years of the Liberals' dreams destroying policies, they can hardly recognize the country, not to mention the Liberal NDP drug policies that literally destroyed over 2,500 British Columbians in 2023, nearly a 5% jump since the Ottawa Liberals began their experimentation here in BC with the help of our Victoria NDP government. So that is one of the reasons, and more to come. Yeah.
I'm so glad. I hope he wins. He's really been put through the ringer. Let's one quick clip, and then we'll get to that last chat. And then I don't know if we have another Rumble ad read or not, but yeah, they're ordering Canada Post back to work. I don't know what the agreement is. Are we paying for their sex changes now? I don't know. I know that they're raising the price of stamps as if anybody buys a stamp anymore.
Yeah.
Who goes and I don't remember the last time I mailed a letter.
But whenever you do, it's like, what the heck? How did it get this expensive? It can't be that expensive to make a stamp. My gosh.
I realized that Canada Post strike hurt small businesses terribly.
It's
but
always at Christmas.
Yes, it's just like when it's back to school time and the teachers go on strike. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But I hope that small businesses never trust Canada Post again. Never trust them again. Find a different way. Hopefully your customers will support you in finding a different way. But Canada Post didn't care about you. They used you as a bargaining chip with the government to extort more from the government. I hope you never patronize them ever again. Small businesses. Anyway, let's show the clip of them being ordered back to work.
Canada Post and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers remain unable to reach an agreement. Canadians are rightly fed up. The federal mediator has now informed me that the negotiations between both parties are now, in fact, going in the wrong direction. Today, I've used my powers under the Canada Labour Code. It is my view and the view of the FMCS that the parties are at an impasse. I have asked the Canada Industrial Relations Board if they also determine that there is an impasse, to order Canada Post and all employees represented by CUPW to resume and continue their operations and duties, and to extend the terms of the existing collective agreements until May 22nd, 2025. I am making this decision to protect the interests of all Canadians. It is not a decision I take lightly, but in this situation, it is the right one.
I'm glad, but it might be a little bit too late. Like, if the Liberals were serious about this, they probably should have ordered them back to work 10 days ago, beginning of December, so that it didn't damage small businesses who need December sales to make it through January and February. They might benefit from some Boxing Day sales, but when they've had, I mean, basically anything since Black Friday forward, all those sales just lost if they used Canada Post for shipping. The Liberals waited way, way too long to do this. Way too long.
For sure. Yeah. And so many people just think, I'm not even going to do that type of gift. I'm just going to wire a gift card or whatever.
Yeah.
They switched their whole plans.
Yeah, of course. There are plenty of things that I considered buying. I got it on Amazon, or I went into a physical store, and I hope Canada Post pays dearly for what they did to small businesses. We've got one last ad read. I'll read it because apparently I'm the animal lover at the company right now. What was the joke in the staff meeting that I told? That I'm a cat lady now, that I'm just going to dye my hair blue and get an
Right.
abortion.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it, but someone's like, "You're lucky you have kids."
Yeah, exactly. You know what? He's going to be fine. He's going to just be an outdoorsy kind of cat, just roaming the neighborhood, I think. But he's still a baby, and I'm work
Oh.
from home, so he's just right up all over me. Our next ad read is from our friends at Positive. If you have a dog, and I do, she is very emotional today because she has a new friend who doesn't like her. We've all been there. A pup goes from full of energy to sick and miserable in an instant at the worst of times. Then we're calling vets in the middle of the night or on weekends trying to find a clinic that will take us in. It's a terrible way to manage your dog's health, not to mention your stress levels and, of course, your monthly budget. That's why people are getting the Pet Emergency Kit by Positive, and that's spelled the cutesy way, PAWSITIVE, Positive. It contains critical medications and supplies that can not only keep you out of the veterinary office, but even may save your dog's life. Their kits contain critical medications like activated charcoal, styptic powder, which is one of my favorite phrases to say, and more. It might just save your dog's life. Head on over to positive.com. That's PAWSITIVE.com to use the code studio to get 15% off your pet emergency kit. All right. I think that's it. I think we're pretty well wrapped up. I think we got to most of everything. Did we get to everything that was in the YouTube headline? Because that is ultimately my goal.
Well, while you're checking that, I will read one more Rumble chat. Thank you so much from Dr. Decker, $25. Thank you. That helps a lot. It says, Merry Christmas, ladies, and say hi to Ezra. Well, Merry Christmas to you too.
Okay, we've got one thing, and it is for our friends in the United States, I think, because Canadians are well aware of just how bad things are in Canada. If you've ever tried to use our healthcare system, everyone's like, yeah, universal healthcare is great till you try to use it. Right now, I think this sort of ties in because a lot of people are celebrating the merger of a healthcare CEO, which is very Stalinist, like the whole eat the rich nonsense. You eat the rich, and there's no rich people left to give you a job. But just because somebody runs a company that you don't like doesn't mean you get to execute him. And if you're celebrating the execution of the head of a company that is making decisions that you don't like, you're a crazy person. And so the alternative, I guess, to the United States would be the Canadian healthcare system, where 15,000 people received medical assistance in dying last year, most of it because they couldn't access timely care, which would alleviate their suffering. And the majority of those were not terminally ill. They died for the purposes of suffering. Well, Adam Burgoyne, I think I'm saying that right.
Looks good to me.
Yeah. Burgoyne, we've got the tweet here. He died with a torn artery.
Wow.
After being denied a CT scan. This is what he said. Had a bit of a healthcare scare last night, but thankfully it wasn't a heart attack. This is so terrible.
Yeah.
Not sure what it was though, because once they made sure I wasn't dying, he was dying.
Yeah.
I was thrown out into the waiting room, and 6 hours later I said F it and went home. I'll have to shave the rest of my chest, I guess. Or maybe they did it. Or maybe they shaved the rest of it during his autopsy, because he died due to a lack of care and rationed care in Canada, right? They just make sure that you're not immediately dying, but you could be experiencing a fatal condition. They don't even bother diagnosing you and send you home. It's terrible.
That's so sad. He looks so young. Did you say how old he was, or do we know?
I didn't know.
Oh,
was he
my
36?
He looks young. Oh, there you go. There's 1985, so he's almost 40, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, 39.
Oh, horrible.
That's terrible. What a nightmare. Okay. I think I have to get off this live
Yeah.
stream and do something with this cat before I lose my marbles. Oh, yes. We do have one thing. Thanks. Olivia reminds me. Sorry, I'm terribly distracted by a cat that won't behave. Ezra was working on a special project. So that's why you saw me hosting his show last week and why he's had a different guest host,
Right.
because he's really been under pressure to do this thing that he actually doesn't like doing very much, and that's writing a book. So he's got a brand new book. Let's bring it up. I
He
love
gets
the
really
cover.
excited. He gets really excited about doing it. So he really wants to do it. Just the
He loves
process.
the idea. He loves the
Process.
idea of a
Yeah.
book and publishing a book, and Rebel News publishing best-selling books. He loves that. But if he's got to write one that will end up a best-selling book, I don't know.
And
It's
he loves the idea of getting revenge for what happened in this scenario. I'll let you explain it. But
yes. So this is the follow-up to The Libranos, which is Ezra's book that has been, I was going to say persecuted by elections officials as basically an illegal campaign donation to whom we don't know, because the money didn't leave and go flow to a political party. It was one of 20 some odd books that were published about Justin Trudeau in the lead up to the last election, or last election.
but the
And
only non-pro Trudeau book.
the only non-pro Trudeau book. And so apparently the timing of that book was illegal. We're still fighting that in court. Now this, and it's in typical Ezra madman fashion, which is why we know and love him. He has to pay $13,000 because the book is illegal. Again, it sounds pretty Stalinist to me. We're not doing it. We're appealing it, which will cost, of course, way more than $13,000. But what is the alternative? Allowing the government to tell authors in this country that books are illegal. And by the way, where's Pen Canada? Like, that's the authors organization, which I used to join. I don't do it anymore, but I used to join it because I have had 3 best-selling books. But I don't join it anymore because why? What are they doing with my money except holding fancy balls for themselves, like galas, where they celebrate themselves? And it's one of my books was also prosecuted by elections officials.
I didn't know.
But they dropped it. Yes, Stop Notley, because I published it in the lead up to the election that ousted her. So I was interrogated by a former cop over my book, which was surreal. And the good folks at Pen Canada are like, "Excuse me, who are you? Also, can you send us your $70 for our membership?"
Yeah.
And I was like,
Oh
drop
my
dead.
Jeez.
So anyways, Ezra's got a brand new book. It's called Trudeau's Secret Plan. It's a follow-up to Libranos, What He'll Do to Us if he wins again. So it's the sequel to 2019's Libranos. That's the book that, 2 election cycles ago. They're still prosecuting it 5 years later. Trudeau has never been more on the taxpayer's dime, and hundreds and thousands of dollars of resources just thrown at Ezra. Backed into a corner, Trudeau has never been more dangerous. Isn't that the truth? I think we're going to see such intense censorship coming up. This book is a must read for anyone who cares about Canada and wants to stop Trudeau from destroying it. Now, the book, you can preview chapter 1 on Trudeau's Secret Plan.com. And then you can, so we published an excerpt for you so you can see what you're dealing with, which I think is wonderful. 6 pages there. And it's available now on Amazon, so you don't even have to get it shipped through Canada Post.
Great. I'm getting mine.
Yes. I am too. I have all the
I have
Rebel News
Libranos right. I think it's right over there. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So I love the cover. It's sinister and goofy all at once, which is I think exactly how I would describe Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, totally. All right.
Trudeau's Secret Plan.com. Okay, I think now that's it. We're 17 minutes over.
One more thing. Bill CF7 donates $5 towards us.
Okay.
We gotta include Bill. says if Liberals would have forced postal workers back last week, we would be having an election. I think the B should be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. You think so?
I don't
I
know.
don't
What about that pension?
Yeah, like of all the things that we could have an election on,
Yeah.
you think it's the postal workers? Could it be the billions and billions of dollars in procurement, fraudulently awarded procurements, Randy Boissonneau just being Randy,
Just being
just being a typical Randy, like the pension scandal, the
Yeah.
economy, a trade war, the carbon tax, like it's just endless.
Mhm.
I think no matter what, the Liberals and the NDP are going to hang on to the very end. This is my prediction. I'm happy to be wrong, but I think that the Liberals and the NDP are in a position where, and if some of those polls are correct, the NDP might not even form official opposition. It could be the bloc, given where the
Wow.
vote turns out. But I think their options are lose now or lose later. I think they just want to lose later.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it. Drea, I'll let you wrap up the show because I lost track of this cat in here.
No worries. We'll give you and the cat a break. Anyways, thank you for everybody who tuned in and especially part of the show. Thank you for our producers behind the scene who work very hard. Sometimes we totally just say something and they find it faster than the blink of an eye. And I guess we will see you next time at the next Rebel Roundup.
Are you struggling to figure out what to buy your loved ones this Christmas? Look no further. RebelNewsStore.com has the perfect gifts for the freedom lovers in your family. Whether it's Convoy Christmas, Canadian Christmas, or my personal favorite, all I want for Christmas is a new Prime Minister. Can I get an amen?
There will be
We have so much, including the classics that your loved ones can wear all year long, like our Rebel gears, our Hey, We Are Ungovernable, and another one of my favorites, Trudeau Castro. So head to rebelnewsstore.com and use the code REBELCHRISTMAS to save 15% today. Merry Christmas!